Welcome to today's MasterCoaches Wednesday Weekly Buzz. I'm Bob Bertucci, here with fellow Master Coaches Kathy George, Fran Flory, and Bill Walton. Our topic for today is Athletes Unlimited Pro Volleyball. Athletes Unlimited is playing an exhibition schedule of 11 matches from March 25th to April 21st. With 2 exhibition matches where they'll divide their team up and compete in front of 2 junior national qualifying events this spring. I believe one is in Chicago, the other one in Philadelphia. And then this fall, play of the regular season will occur again in Phoenix, Arizona. Our guests today are Cassidy Lichtman, Athletes Unlimited Board of Director, Craig Skinner, head volleyball coach at the University of Kentucky, and Leah Edmond, a Kentucky volleyball alumni and Athletes Unlimited Pro player. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, great to have all you guys here. Cassidy, Leah, and of course, Craig. But we're gonna start the first half of the show, kind of just going over a number of different questions and give you guys a chance to talk a little bit about the match that happened just recently. But first question for Cassidy, and Cassidy, you played at Stanford. All right, you were a 2-time All-American, if I remember correctly, national team player, pro volleyball player. All right, now a board of director for Athletes Unlimited. In her spare time, she actually has her own nonprofit that she runs. I don't know how you have time for all this. Can you first give us a little bit of color about what you do for Athletes Unlimited?
Thanks. And thanks for having us on here. So I played in the first 2 seasons of Athletes Unlimited. They got me out of retirement to come back and play. And it was an incredible experience. And I was the chair of what we call a player executive committee, which is our 5 athletes that really help make decisions around the league and work with our leadership. And now I just transitioned last summer into the director of volleyball role. So now I'm running kind of all things volleyball. Our company has 4 different sports. So I'm responsible for anything related to our volleyball league.
Okay. Well, give us an idea about, this tour and, the matches that you're playing. What's the format? Specifically, what we saw at Ohio State compared to what we saw at Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of flexibility. We're trying to let the college coaches dictate a little bit of the format and how they want to play. Obviously, they're in their spring schedule and their training too. And so we've played it a little bit differently at each stop. And so Ohio State, and then last night against Minnesota, we played a couple sets just straight against their team and then a couple mixed in. So our players were playing with them. Kentucky and Louisville, we played it more straight up in a match against them. And so it's based on just what the coaches want to work on, and how they want to see their players in action too.
That's awesome, Cassidy. I think it's amazing you're doing this, but I have a question for Craig. Craig, 18 years at Kentucky, amazing, about to go into 19, the winningest coach in Kentucky history. Some pretty big shoes to fill with DeBoer leading the way there. 2020 national champs, with this amazing player on the call with us, Miss Leah Edmond as well. Going into this spring, I think people would love to know, how do you prepare a team through the spring? What are your goals? What's your vision? And you brought this pro team in, kind of reflect on that a little bit when you scheduled that.
Well, the spring and winter is definitely one of my favorite times. It's a very challenging time for our players because they are working super hard, especially in wintertime, to get their bodies physically fit and get in the best shapes of their life. It's also a time we develop, train, and try and get players to the next level, both mentally and physically. And so we're incorporating new things typically each year. And then try and see what combinations work the best, try and see what player works well in particular situations. This year, we've had some change in our program with Anders becoming the head coach at Vanderbilt and bringing in Ben, who's been on the men's side for a long time. And so there's 3 significant kind of changes we're making and philosophically in what we're doing. And so we're, trying to figure out what all of those things are working, what we need to keep doing. Maybe there's things that we don't want to do in the fall, but it's an experimentation stage. And especially this year, we're learning a lot about ourselves and what could be down the road. So, and also to learn a lot about ourselves, we need to play against good teams, because we could easily play against teams that physically we should win on paper and feel good about ourselves after those wins. But that's not the goal of Kentucky. We want to challenge ourselves every night when we play and see what's working and see where we need to aspire to get to. And Athletes Unlimited obviously is going to provide that. And the lineup that they played against us in those first 2 sets, we did not play particularly well, and they played well, and it was a bad combination that night. But we're learning a lot, and if we can put what we have done in practice into match play, then it'll be the steps forward that we need to in the spring and the winter.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying is it's more of a tactical putting people together than a technical development piece. I think college volleyball has kind of evolved, and certainly matching up with these pro players. Kind of what was the expectation when you scheduled to play AU?
Well, first of all, I was excited when Cassidy emailed us about the possibility of playing, because one of the goals of this program is to grow the game, and when people come watch us play, that they aspire to run out of the stands and come down and join us. And so when little younger female athletes are in the stands watching Leah Edmond play, watching Kaz Brown play, watching Sydney Hilly play, watching Morgan Hens play, all those guys playing, and our players that they've seen all the time, that they'll get excited about the future and what they can do in the game, but also how we can continue to grow the game. So I think it's a development. It is also a development stage for our players, and can we get better, but also, what fits where and what pieces of the puzzles work right now, what we need to change for August. But it was an awesome experience for our fans, for our younger generation of players, and to send off our historic building that's been around in this program for long time, and I was super excited to have Leah and Kaz come back in one more time, and you could tell their adrenaline was flowing too, so it was fun to see.
So so go ahead, Kaz.
No, you go.
So with the changes in Memorial, having coached a few matches in there myself, can you give us a little glimpse of what's to come? I think it's pretty incredible, and what a great way for Kaz and Leah and those guys to come back to kind of put a bow on the end of that era of Memorial Coliseum with 2 of the most influential players in Kentucky history.
Yeah, well, first of all, for those that might be wondering, there will be air conditioning the next time we do play an event in there. So sweat will be not quite as rivers flowing the court and during rallies, but they're really gutting the whole inside bowl and new center hung scoreboard. They're creating a couple mezzanines on the end zone so people can stand and watch and get concessions and sit and watch. And so a gathering place there to congregate, watch, spectate, and then the concourses are going to be redone. So new concessions, restrooms, and all of that stuff, but also kind of restoring the significance of Memorial Coliseum. I didn't know that when they originally built Memorial Coliseum, there was the same number of seats in the building of the number of people from the state of Kentucky that perished in the wars. And so obviously there's a historical piece that we need to preserve, but also a competitive piece that's going to take our program and our facilities into the next generation and be one of the top facilities in the country. So it's an exciting time.
That is amazing, Craig. That sounds so great. We've played many a match in your facility as well. So so it'll get a little tighter on the end zones is what you're saying, with some things in there. So that'll be really cool. Well, that's awesome. I know Miss Leah Edmond over here, for those of you who don't know, she's one of your former players, and I I know you think very highly of her, but I've got to actually read this because Leah, you have a pretty big resume here. But she is a 4-time ABC All-American, 4-time All-Region. She's been first team All-American twice, 2-time ABCA Southwest Region Player of the Year, named Southwestern Conference Player of the Year as a junior and a senior. She's an all-time leader in kills. Can I keep going on? And she's graduated and is now playing pro for Athletes Unlimited. So you've played 15 sets last year, or 45 sets, 15 matches, and you were ranked 15th in the leaderboard. So pretty cool. But my question for you is still, when you were playing Craig and you were coming back in your last match at the Coliseum, tell us all about the energy that was going into that. And, how did it feel? So
I was so excited. Like, you could ask Cass and about everybody on the team. Like, I just could not stop smiling. Like, the entire bus ride down, I was just so excited to be home and just to play at Kentucky. And so it was just like, I'm just so happy. Like, first practice to walk in there again, I was just like smiling because it's different. Like, I wasn't coming as a fan to watch them play like usual, and I wasn't on the team anymore, so I was coming as a visitor. So that was like a whole different experience to like be in there with a whole different group of people. It was weird to be there with Cass too, because I was like, we are not on the right team right now, and it's like kind of weird. And like just even warm up, seeing them across the net doing the same warm up I did, and like being on the visitor side to start out, it was just so strange, but it was so exciting. I was just so happy to be there. Like, I just can't express enough how happy I was. Like, you could just not, I was just not smiling. Like the entire time, no matter what happened, I was just so happy to be there, and I was just enjoying every moment.
So were there some butterflies at the beginning of the game? Was there that excitement that you remember feeling when you played there?
Definitely butterflies, but kind of like me every game. It's just like, once I get my first kill, then I kind of like calm down. I'm like, okay, we can do this. But yeah, it was a little butterflies. I saw so many like family and friends that I didn't know were coming. And so that was like really special. I kind of looked out in the stands. I was like, oh my goodness, like I had no clue those people were coming. And I was just really excited to see like people that had watched me play since I was in high school. So it was just all amazing.
And Craig, I'm going to guess you knew she'd be fired up.
There's not very many competitions that Leah isn't fired up about. So,
That's true. That's true.
yes.
It was probably like, uh-oh. So Leah, did you help formulate the scouting report against Kentucky, since you probably knew all the, all the info?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I've watched them, I practiced with them a little bit. So I kind of knew what they were working on and what a lot of them had gotten better at. But same for them. Craig knows my every little tendency. So I knew they would have a detailed scouting report against me as well. And that was very evident on the first point when they absolutely stuffed me. So I was like, okay. I was like, we all planned really well. I got them back too, but I was like, we planned very well for this. But yeah.
I wish I would have seen the faces, like you knew this, one after the other, kind of going after each other.
I looked at them and I was like, we are not doing this. I'm letting you know right now.
Did he have something going again for Kaz too? Slow her down?
There was an attempt. I'm not sure how successful we were
Yeah.
at slowing down either of them. So
Okay. All right.
I can see that Craig was definitely torn between really wanting them to have them back in the gym and not so much on the other side of the net.
Yeah.
well, you gotta keep Kaz and Leah happy. If they're not happy, then no one can be happy.
And
So you
ain't
gotta let
nobody
them
happy.
get some kills and points and some steps,
Oh, that's great. Well, knowing that this is the last time you'll be playing in the Coliseum the way it is, how does that feel to you, and how excited are you for the future of Kentucky volleyball?
It was cool. It was like kind of like one of those moments, like, I had so many memories there playing with it looking like that, and we made so much history. And so it was really cool to kind of just like close out that side. I'm like 50-50 about the air conditioning. Like, I, as a player, like would love air conditioning, especially in August. So like, I feel like it was like an advantage. Like, everybody come and be like, it's so hot, and all of us are like, we're used to it. So that's where I'm kind of set it's going. Yeah. It's like, you can't handle it. I mean, it's not like I didn't wear 3 jerseys a game, to be honest, because I was sweating so much. But it was just really cool to close it out and just remember Memorial in such a good way. And so I'm really excited to see how it's going to look next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's a fun thing to have your player back, Craig, and Leah. You've done so much for Kentucky, so congratulations on all that, and thanks for continuing to play with Athletes Unlimited and show everybody what you can do. So I think
Thank you.
take it away,
Cassidy. Are you the unofficial coach for Athletes Unlimited at the Kentucky match?
Yeah, for this tour, I am the coach, or we call them facilitators, but yes, that's my other
All right.
role.
So how do you facilitate with the ever-changing group as you go through the tour? And more importantly, how did you handle the over-enthusiastic Kentucky players trying to crush their old coach?
I've been on the court with Leah. I know if she's excited, things are going to go well. Like she said, she'll settle in a few points in, and I feel like the more excited she gets, the higher she jumps and the harder she hits, and that usually is a good thing for our side. Yeah, I mean, I think that the beauty of Athletes Unlimited is we really do try to empower our athletes in kind of all ways, and part of that is on the court, and that's why our coaching role is a little bit different. So it's less kind of authoritative and much more collaborative, which I think we can all agree is what good coaching looks like most of the time anyway. Especially as your players, get older and wiser and know what they're doing a little bit more. And so they have a lot of freedom to make adjustments on the court. I mean, last night, Morgan Hens just called a timeout on her own. And I was like, great, we'll have a timeout. But yeah, I mean, I try to help, put the lineups together and, help with the scouting report too, and then just make adjustments during the games, substitution and whatnot. And so, but they're all pros and have been playing a long time. And so we take, their opinions and their insights into account just as much.
Do you ever get on the court and work out with them still, or is your arm completely been redone?
I'm in. Depends how many players we have. If we need an extra pin, usually I'm the one to jump in. So I practiced the other day in Minnesota. We're getting ready for that match. Leah's shaking her head because I pulled out some old lady shots.
Love it. The old ladies.
Nobody. Yeah, no, I mean, I was, these were all my teammates last season, so I played with all of them, just a year ago, and so yeah, stayed in shape enough to jump in when necessary.
You might be the last. I can't remember another player since your final year when you were setting and hitting. Is the era of a setter and a hitter 6'2"? Is it over?
I mean, I don't know that it's entirely over. I think that, if the right player comes along, they'll let them do it, but it's just so rare. I think it was very close to over before my time also. I think I played older than I was maybe, was influenced by some older players, but yeah, it's tough to find the setter hitter combo. It's tough to find a passer hitter combo at this point in college volleyball. So I think the multi-role players have gone out a little bit just with sub rules and whatnot at the youth level, but maybe someone will come along and get a chance.
Bill, I think Pitt has one in Rachel Fairbanks. I think
She's great.
does.
Yeah.
There
That's right.
you go. There you go.
Well,
I don't know if anybody's
going
going to be an outside hitter setter in the same game. That was weird, but we'll see.
Oh, I hear you. So Craig, you chime back in there for a second. So I'd like your opinion. We got Athletes Unlimited, and after they play this fall, we're going to launch 2 more pro leagues here in the USA. What do you think about the impact of having pro sports will have on the college game, and how does it help you motivate your players to get ready for a potential pro career?
Well, it's one of the most unique, exciting times ever in volleyball in the United States. And to give a little perspective, so Ben, our new associate head coach, was a men's coach in Canada for a long time, was the men's national team coach. And one of the reasons why he wanted to come to the United States is because NCAA women's volleyball is the biggest wave in our sport in the world. And so when you hear that from someone outside the United States, you get pretty excited about the possibilities for this sport. And then you tack on Athletes Unlimited, who has 2 or 3 years under their belt, the new pro leagues. I mean, the enthusiasm, excitement for someone that's 14 years old right now to look up to some of these guys thinking, man, I can do this for a longer time. No one at that age 15 years ago was thinking I can play this game for another 10 years. They weren't even planning on that. So then when it becomes the end of their college career, oh, hey, by the way, you can play pro. They hadn't even processed what that's like. Now they can think ahead to that possibility beyond college. So there's a little more mental preparation. And so they're thinking more about that than just getting done with college and starting what my career might be beyond it. And so how that all sorts out, you leave that up to the people, you know, owning the leagues and running them. And I just know that if you're a younger girl playing this sport, the possibilities are endless. And thankfully, people in Athletes Unlimited had the vision, and others are having the vision that this can happen. And then you tack on the success of women's basketball last couple of years, the success of women's volleyball last fall with the viewership. The wave isn't stopping, and so it's a really, really cool time in our sport.
And I mean,
Leah,
boys volleyball growing so much too, so that's great.
yeah, Leah, you came out with an elementary school degree. Are you still teaching?
I am not. I took a hiatus because I wanted to play full time, and trying to do both of them at the same time was fun, but really hard. So I took a break from that. I'm in the classroom sometimes, kind of when I can fit it in, but not full time anymore.
So after this fall, are you hoping to play Pro Volleyball Federation in this next spring?
I mean, any chance I can get to play volleyball, I will take it. So I'm definitely excited for all the options that we're going to have available now. So really looking forward to making those decisions and figuring out what I want to do.
And Cassidy, Pro Volleyball Federation, did you switch to the fall to kind of help make it a potential year-round thing for the kids, or what's the motivation for the fall?
Yeah, I mean, we switched to the fall before PVF announced, but it worked out well. We switched mostly because of our broadcast deal. That was a better window for us, but also, you know, in part because we felt like it was a better time in the schedule. You know, if people were able to play with us for, you know, the fall, and there were options in the spring. Puerto Rico, we knew at the time that that League One or Love was in development, and they won in the spring. And then when PVF announced it, we were just, I think, even more glad that we had moved to that spot. I think it's kind of perfect for American volleyball players right now as these leagues develop. You know, if we can cover, I think it would be really difficult for the US to have a, you know, 6 or 7 month long season right off the bat, the way that, you know, the overseas league, some of the overseas leagues work. And so I think this is kind of perfect to have, you know, our 6-week season in the fall, and then to be able to go play another American season or, you know, anywhere else in the world in the spring. I think that's, you know, what we've kind of envisioned for our athletes for a long time. So it's exciting to see that it can become a reality.
Cool.
Well, you know, I'd like to thank Leah, all right, and Craig for coming on. Really appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule. Leah, we know you have a game tonight, so you need to go get your rest and be ready to go. But you're welcome to stay with us as we ask Cassidy a bunch more questions about Athletes Unlimited. And Craig, you have a match tomorrow night. Is that right? Against Purdue?
Yep, Purdue and Columbus, Indiana. So another opportunity to get on the court and see what we got this spring.
All right. Well, we would like to thank both of you for being on, and would like to have you back at another point in time. And good luck tonight, Leah, and tomorrow night, Craig, for you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for having us.
Good luck, guys.
Cool.
Thanks, Sean.
Go Wildcats.
Oh, funny.
Good
Yeah.
people, good people. So Cassidy, first off, I want to say thank you for all you do for our sport, beyond AU, and just your investment. You have carried yourself so well and for so long. And yeah, you have an old school, kind of like us mentality. I know you were brought up like maybe we played back in the day, and I so appreciate that. So I never have had the chance to say thank you, and I want to take this opportunity to say that to you, because fewer have done more than you have at your young age. And I can't wait to see what the future brings for you in terms of how you impact us further. So
Thank you. I
Thanks.
appreciate that.
thanks for that. So with this exhibition schedule that you've put together, kind of what was the goal, and where are you going from here? What's your next match, and kind of what's the pathway from here?
Yeah, so, you know, when we moved our season to the fall, we were looking at this spring, and I was like, I don't want to go, you know, 18 months without a season, without pro volleyball. And we want to just go out and reach the volleyball world where they are. You know, there's still a lot of people in the US who are volleyball fans who don't understand that professional volleyball exists, because we've only had it for, you know, a couple of years in the US, or it's been decades since the last league. And so looking at like the massive college volleyball fan base and the youth side, we thought we really wanted to get to those fans and meet them where they are. And so I started talking to some colleges and seeing if they might want to play, and they all kind of said yes, which was great. So yes, we've had I think four matches so far. We're playing tonight, our 5th match against Wisconsin, and then next week we'll be at Texas and Baylor, and then finish it out with Howard and Penn State, and then also those 2 youth qualifiers in Chicago and Philadelphia. So we're hitting many parts of the country. It's fun. It's kind of an old school, road trip. A little bit of a throwback to the college days. Way easier than a national team road trip in, Japan or Russia or somewhere. But yeah, so that's the plan. So we'll finish up by April 21st, and then come back together in September for our fall season.
That's awesome. For anybody that wants to watch tonight, the Wisconsin match, is there a stream or a video or an opportunity for them to watch live?
Yeah. So this match will be on BTN Plus. And so will the Penn State match that we play. And then the Texas match is going to be on Longhorn Network on TV. So they can watch on there too.
That's awesome. So you transition into the fall. Is the format going to be the same? What's your vision, and how's that going to play out?
Yeah, we're going to stick with our same format. So it'll still be kind of the 5 weeks of competition. We like how it's been going. The whole leaderboard kind of process has worked really well. And so I think we're sticking with that for the time being. Anything is on the table for Athletes Unlimited in the future, kind of at all times. It's a super innovative and forward-thinking company. But right now, what we're focused on is just how do we get the best possible players, and because that's what's so exciting about this format is seeing Jordan Larson and Shayla Castro and Badania De La Cruz, and then the younger players coming up, and Morgan Hens and Danny Drews, and those get to play against each other, but then also with each other, and to see kind of who does really come out on top of that mix. I think that's exciting, and the better the players are, the kind of more interesting the combinations are, and the more you can do with it. So that's the focus right now.
That's awesome.
Cassidy,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, Frank. I had a quick question just came to mind. You talk about this, old type tour, were you able to fund this through just ticket sales at the different events, or did Athletes Unlimited have to come in and help fund all this travel that you've been doing?
Yeah, Athletes Unlimited is more or less funded it. I mean, some of the schools have helped also. So it's not necessarily a revenue generator for us. It's more of kind of an investment in building the fan base, and then hoping they then realize they can watch their favorite players still once we get to our fall season on TV or in person in Phoenix.
Well, and Cassidy, you brought this up a little bit earlier. You said you moved it because of some broadcast schedules that you could work with. So if you could explain that too, and then what kind of dates or days do you work on to get in between all the college games? So what do you have in store?
Yeah, we're actually working on that right now. So we signed a deal with ESPN. That was really the impetus behind the move to the fall, and really exciting for us. I think it's, to my knowledge, it's going to be the first time professional volleyball is played on the ESPN platforms, which is super exciting for our sport. So we'll be on some combination of, their linear TV channels and ESPN Plus. But yeah, our broadcast team is working right now with them on, what the best days are. And maybe, I don't know if there are opportunities too for the college volleyball to be a lead in for us and vice versa. If we can play, back to back potentially, we're going to be on the West Coast, in Arizona. So with that timing, we might be able to play on the same night at different times. So we're not sure yet, but that's when ESPN felt like it was going to be the best window.
That wouldn't be bad after a college game, especially in the Midwest, because then you could stay on, watch that, and then it's still California time or whatever. And it kind of pulls.
Yeah. And our first season was actually, it was in the spring, but it was during that weird COVID season.
Yeah.
So we were actually playing during college volleyball in season 1. And I, just anecdotally had people say, oh yeah, like I watch Big Ten on Monday and AU on, Wednesday, and they had their whole kind of schedule going. And so I think if fall maybe is a good time to kind of catch people's volleyball interest.
That's going to be so awesome. That is so great that you guys have that deal. And it just all this TV exposure just as being, it's bringing volleyball just way up to the top, and it's so cool.
Huge.
So also, I remember talking to a couple players, when you guys first did Athletes Unlimited, and Jordan Larson in particular that you brought up, just talking about the old lady shots and how, how to just see things differently for these young players. And, the game is so different. And yet we, when we're young, they're all trying to hit the crap out of the ball and kind of going after it. And then you just say, hey, this is really what you need to be looking at. So it's great that you've intermixed with some of the college players. Hopefully, those kind of things they're learning while they're playing with some of you and just playing against you. So I think it's a great way for them to feel what is that next step to play pro volleyball and what do you need to do to even get better. So awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it's been really cool. And we've had, like one of the Ohio State players messaged one of ours and said, just, you instilled a lot of confidence in me in serve receive. And we had a scrimmage yesterday and I rocked it. And then Aiko Jones from Louisville tweeted today about how she's still thinking about that match from last week and just, seeing older players, doing what she wants to do later on in life and having so much fun doing it and still playing volleyball, just how that resonated with her. And so,
Yeah.
I think we hoped that it would be impactful for the players that we came to, but the fact that it has been and we've seen that is really cool.
It is so awesome.
Cassidy, you brought up a couple of international stars names. Do you guys have a limit on how many international players are allowed in the league, or is there no limit? How do you handle the international stars coming into AU?
Yeah, we try to be around 5. I mean, they're expensive. You have to pay for a visa and for a transfer fee. We have not including Puerto Ricans who obviously have American passports. And so
can I have a time out for a second? Can you explain to our listeners what a transfer fee is? Because I don't think people understand what that means.
Yeah, good call. So when you play internationally, the FIVB, the International Volleyball Federation, has a transfer fee for each player. So when our American players go and our national team players go and play overseas, those teams are paying both the International Federation and USA Volleyball some money to I don't actually know what the money goes to, but to cover that transfer, to cover kind of that player coming to their country. So we have to do the same thing in reverse. And so anytime a player comes from another federation, another national team, we have to pay a transfer fee both to the federation and the International Federation and to the national governing body of that country. And so we're paying that, and then obviously a visa. Puerto Ricans are in a different federation, so they still do require a transfer fee, but not the visa. So we try to be around kind of 5 international players, and then no limit on Americans and Puerto Ricans.
Are Canadians
Canadians are international. Yeah.
So 5 total out of, what's the total number of players for you guys?
44.
44.
Yeah. So we usually end up with around 6 or 8 from other national teams.
And what do you do when you have, knock on wood, a number of injuries and you've got to go outside your 44 to fill teams? What do you do?
Yeah, we try to get reserves in place before the season even starts. So usually players who they wanted to play with us, we don't have room on our roster. We'll try to set up reserves in each position, and then it just depends on kind of timing. Also, we had a few injuries at near the end. We only have a 5-week season, so we got to week 4 last year and had some injuries, and just said we're going to go with a 10-person roster for a couple teams in the last week and make it work. But we do have reserves if we need them.
And how many times a week will you guys be playing? How many times do you think we'll see you on TV?
We play 3 days a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we have 4 teams each week, and they all play each other. We only play 3 sets no matter what, so that helps limit the load. But yeah, 3 days a week. It's usually 1 day on, 1 day off, and then two days on.
And is there a facilitator for each team?
Yes.
How did the facilitators get picked? Do the captains get to pick the facilitator they want?
No, the facilitators are on. We toyed with that at one point. Do we draft the facilitators? And then we're like, maybe not. No, they are. They're on a rotating basis. So each week they rotate one. They rotate one team.
That's so cool.
Cassidy, how does the pay structure work for the athletes?
So everybody gets a base salary, and then everybody gets a bonus based off each set and match that they win, and also where they finish on the leaderboard at the end of the season. So, number 1 gets the highest leaderboard bonus, number 44 gets the lowest, and it's kind of ranked throughout there. So where you, I mean, it's part of kind of our, like, every moment counts, where you finish on that leaderboard is a dollar amount. So if you finish 30th versus 28th because you had, a bad game, then that's money coming out of your pocket.
Pushing consistency.
And we
Are they
also
hitter-
have the one other thing is, it doesn't come to us, but one of our players' favorite programs is that our Athletes Unlimited matches your win bonus, your set and match win bonus, to the charity of your choice. So that's kind of on top of our pay.
So
Are the
what's the
hitters on the
base salary
setters?
look like?
I'm sorry, Bob.
So what is
Go ahead.
I just wanted to find out what the base salary was and kind of what the structure is on, maybe the range that you can make if you're the top on the board or you're the bottom on the board.
Yeah, so the base salary starts at 8,000, and then everyone's guaranteed at least 11 with bonuses and everything. And then I think our average is just over 20,000.
Are the hitters on the setters? Give me more balls, even if you're
Yeah,
losing.
really. Come on.
I'll give you
Not-
5% of my bonus.
They're
if you
paying
give
on
me
the
10 more
side, yeah.
sets.
I heard that in our basketball league just finished, and one of them said, if they were playing with the person who could become champion, she's like, if I win it, I'm gonna give you guys part of it. Occasionally, but I think no more than in any other volleyball game. What you find is, I think some people look at it and go, okay, like, you'll get caught up in all these points and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, you get the most points based on how much your team wins. So if you're screwing around and like trying to get your own points and your team loses, that's not going to help you. And then B, it's like, good volleyball is good volleyball. If I go up to take a swing, I'm trying to get a kill, regardless of how many points, on the leaderboard I'm getting. So, but yeah, occasionally there's a captain who's like, you need to set me more, which is usually valid though, because they're the captain for a reason. They're probably the best player on the team.
Can the liberos ever be
This is how
captains?
Bill thinks. See, Bill always thinks of these ways.
That would be
Liberos,
more.
I mean, we definitely, I can't remember what Morgan finished last year, but we've had liberos in the top 10 both years. So it's possible. It's hard. It's definitely hardest for liberos and middles, but I
Yeah.
think most of us
Team win.
would
Team win.
expect that. And they're also, probably the two at lower paid positions overseas. And so we've tried to make it like, there was a whole process that went into how the leaderboard works in that points system, based off of a lot of international games. And we've made it kind of as fair as possible to make sure that top 10 is able to have all positions represented.
Cassidy, you mentioned something that came out in our show last week. Lee Feinswag with Volleyball Magazine mentioned that the one thing that's going to really drive volleyball to the next level of its life is if somebody gets on ESPN. And if I heard you correctly, you have a deal with ESPN this fall. Is that right?
That's right.
So that could be Lee's pretty much on top of things. He feels like that's going to make the big difference for the sport.
Yeah, I think it really is. And Craig talked about it. He talked about growing the game. And I really think that the growth in college volleyball is so amazing. And obviously at the youth level, like, it's been incredible for years, but really in the last year or two, seeing that those ratings in college volleyball, I think, is what prompted ESPN to take us in the first place. But I really think this is going to be kind of a mutually reinforcing system. Like, we've seen that people do want to watch, like, there are fans of volleyball and they want to watch the game. But I think in order to break outside of our kind of little silo that we're in, like, we're very quietly a giant sport. And so I think to break outside of that, we have to have a professional level. There are no other like really mainstream sports that, are talked about on a, weekly basis that don't have pro. And so I think we have to have both of those things. I think that the college level is really driving the audience at this point. But I think it's going to be really important to have, that pro side elevated, and they're going to reinforce each other as we see those kids come up and then go to the pro level, and people continue to watch. I think that's going to help the game a lot.
Okay, so let's put your fortune teller hat on.
Wait,
for
I
a
want to
second.
ask one more question before you do that.
Okay.
Is it a sellout at Wisconsin tonight? Do you know?
I don't know. I just tweeted earlier, like, we had a really great crowd at Minnesota. I was super happy about it. And so now I'm like, well, is Wisconsin gonna?
Yeah, they're gonna
like,
try it out too. I'll tell you. They'll try it out.
So yeah, I'm expecting a great crowd.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Okay, now, Bob, you can go.
All right, thank you, Kathy.
Thank you,
Well,
Kathy.
so this is kind of our last question for you because it's kind of open-ended. You know, if you had your fortune teller hat on, all right, the future of Athletes Unlimited, pro volleyball in general in the USA, what do you see?
I think we could become, the next big sport. Right now it's really the WNBA and the NWSL are really carrying kind of women's sports. And I don't think there's any reason why volleyball shouldn't be in that conversation, if not, the most popular, because in many ways we are the most popular women's sport in this country. And so, to me, it depends kind of how far you're looking out, but for sure, as these other pro leagues develop, I think having that, quasi year-round professional volleyball that people can watch, I think is going to really catapult us, hopefully, and that now players are growing up and coming through college thinking I can stay here and play, which is again never been the case. So being able to keep some of our best players at home is huge, and then I think that the biggest thing is, how good can these leagues be quality-wise? Are they able to keep the best players from the national team? Obviously, those players are worried about making an Olympic team and playing the best level of competition. So the higher level that we can create within these leagues in the US, the more likely they are to be able to stay. And obviously, money is part of that. But I think, we're in some ways behind the rest of the world from a volleyball perspective. But like Craig said, the college game has pushed the momentum so far that I think we're right on the cusp of something. And so in the next 5 years are going to be, I think, fascinating in our sport.
Agreed.
Cassidy, it's interesting that you talk about the growth, and a thing pops into my head because you said players want to make their national team and play in the top leagues against the best players to do that. But since college is driving the US, is there some pressure for you to adjust the rules so that you can specialize more and sub more like the college game to make it more interesting for the US sports fan?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know that the college rules make it more interesting. I think they make it more so more people can play. All of the subs and everything, especially. I think the international rules are just as exciting when you actually watch the game. And it's a little bit easier in some ways for us at AU because we only have 44 players. We only have to fill 4 teams and we're able to do that because we switch teams each week. And so we can really look at the college level and go, we're going to take, only the best players. As PVF and or Love develop and they're taking more players, there's maybe more opportunity for those college players to come up, and then you fill in with some of the international pros. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, I think right now it's something that we think about a lot is just, how do we balance both, getting the very best players and honestly like the international audience, because that is also huge, but also growing that college fan base and transitioning it into, a pro fan base as well.
Cassidy, I would ask you if you've had any dialogue with Karch and the national team coaches about how your league can transition for those top level kids to stay here and play and get those high level matches under their belt.
Yeah, absolutely. I talk to Karch a lot, and Tom Miyashiro is one of my best friends, and so we talk all the time. But yeah, I think, even in season 1, we had no idea what was going to happen in season 1, obviously. And, Jordan Larson was playing there right before the Olympics and some other players too. And then we watched Jordan go and win a gold medal and be the most valuable player. And so I think there's definitely an argument that you can come play in AU and be absolutely prepared. But, a lot of those players want to play a full length season. And so as these other leagues develop, that might be an option. Or what Jordan had done that year was she played in China first and then came to us. So splitting in other ways could be an option. But yeah, I think we're always talking to them about, what they want to see and what could make us better. And then also, the younger players they're looking at coming out of college and how, we might help prepare them for the national team gym. Because I think that's been a really interesting thing too, is to have like a Danny Drews last year, who was right out of college, coming in. And I remember talking to her about just what it was like to be in a locker room and, be able to pick the brain of, Alicia Glass and, Shayla Castro and these players who have played, in some cases decades, professionally and for the international teams. And so it's a really great development opportunity, I think, for some of those young players too.
Agreed.
Great. Well, Cassie, I'd really like to thank you for coming on today and spending as much time as you have. I know you have a match tonight as a facilitator.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be an enjoyable experience for you. But really, it's been great and learning about the league and how the players are going to be able to have maybe multiple options in terms of playing in the U.S. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
All righty. Well, we'll transition now into our buzz reaction, and we'll start with Fran and Kathy. Why don't you guys go ahead and give us your thoughts?
Go ahead, Franny.
Well, I think it's amazing that the opportunities are here in the US for young women to pursue a dream in this sport. Never been here before. And the door is not just cracking open, it's flying open with multiple opportunities. And I think the greatest thing that AU is doing at this point to date is that they're gaining the exposure for professional volleyball by going into the college gyms, actually competing for or against and with the college teams, and then getting in front of those young players at qualifiers at Windy City. I mean, there's no way that young players understand the opportunity unless they see it with their own eyes. They can't read about it. They can't think about it. They can't hope for it. They actually have to see it. And I think it's brilliant marketing. And I think it's going to carry the sport further than anybody realizes at this point.
And it gains momentum for the other leagues that are getting going and everything. And it's just putting it all together. And I can't be more excited about what they're doing. And moving to the fall is really beneficial in a lot of ways. And it gives athletes an opportunity to play in the US, both in the fall and in the spring, and makes it something that they can digest without killing their bodies, and being able to do it here at home and with family and friends and everything. So it's such an exciting thing, but I love how they have kind of laid out the vision for what they're doing and how it's grown each year. I can't express enough how what Cassidy said about learning from some of the older players and really getting perspective. Because when you do get out there and you're playing pro, your whole mindset changes from when you were a collegiate athlete. And you start to then say, oh my gosh, there's even more, because look at these people like Alicia and Jordan, they can give me more. So I love that concept. I really did like when they weaved their teams, because now you're playing next to them and you can hear how they converse during a match, which is different than maybe what we're used to with collegiate players. And I think that's valuable. So some have chosen to do it, some haven't, but I do think it's been valuable, and really appreciative that they've gone on this exhibition.
And it also sounds like they're really thinking about sharing athletes with the other leagues, the other pro leagues that are, well, the one that you're involved with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sounds like that's going to work real well. It's, they'll finish up their season, and then those athletes are going to be available for your league, right, Kath?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So Bill, what do you think over there?
Well, Athletes Unlimited is in their third year, and any league that makes it to a third year and is still going is the most successful pro volleyball league in the history of the US. No one's made it past 2 years. And it's
How many
good
years
that
did the IVA go? Wasn't that a little bit longer?
two and a half.
2.5?
And and they only had 4 teams too, but they're going into a third year, and they've moved to the fall, and I think it's good that they're in the fall. The NFL and college football play at the same time. There's no reason why Athletes Unlimited and college volleyball can't succeed at the same time. But more importantly, if you were in Europe right now and you're kind of in the top league, but you're not the top player, making $20-some thousand with Athletes Unlimited, and then a base salary of $60,000 if I get picked up by the Pro Volleyball Federation, for essentially 7 months of work is a pretty, and being in the USA is probably fairly comparable to some of the middle salaries of the international league. And with if Pro Volleyball Federation makes it to a third year, the players can then negotiate their own contracts, and the 60,000 goes out, and now you're into competing with Europe with potentially salaries that are competitive, and you'll do nothing but see the league even blow up more in the third year if they make it. And I think it's critical that both leagues kind of are artificially supporting each other so that the players can be here for 6 or 7 months, and they don't have to go to Europe if they don't want to.
Absolutely.
I go back to the comment that Lee had made last week on the show about the importance of ESPN getting involved. I think that's pretty significant. Kathy, what is Pro Volleyball Federation looking like with TV?
Well, I think I definitely know they're conversing about it, not ready to unveil it, but see, you hate that. You always try to probe, Bob. You're always trying to, like, before their announcements, getting right in there. But no, I'm not going to. But there is definitely, those conversations. And so we're looking forward to those announcements. You're so funny.
Good try, Bob.
Yeah, she catches me all the time. I can't. I'm obviously not one of these, top-notch reporters at all.
Yeah, yeah. You see you coming like a freight train.
Yeah, right.
So.
Well, as we know, the TV exposure has to lead us through, right?
Absolutely.
So, the Pro Volleyball Federation, the other league, LOVB, television has got to be part of the package. And I agree with Lee that ESPN, that platform, which is the largest, right, needs to kind of lead the way. But with digital opportunity and linear everything, just being able to find that for every match that is played is vital. So more exposure it doesn't matter where, in my opinion, more exposure is better.
Oh, I agree. I think if you look at what women's basketball just did this past season,
Oh, wow, yeah.
college basketball, and you look at where they were 5 years ago, they had the perfect storm this year of a coach who made sure that she was marketing with her, put a story out there that made everybody want to watch to see what her next outfit was. And then you had the stars from LSU and Iowa getting to the Final Four with a Stephen Curry-like point guard hitting shots from all over the planet, just made for ESPN loves pushing stars and stories. And when you say ESPN, you have to remember that ESPN is also CBS. So ESPN is CBS, and if I'm not mistaken, it is Disney. So, I mean, you've got a huge conglomerate of entertainment there that's looking for programming, and sports is the ultimate reality programming. And what we need to have happen is another great college season with a couple of stars or some stories. And then on top of that, the pro leagues get a couple of Olympians with gold medals playing, and you'll see people following just like they do the NFL and the NBA and college basketball the whole year round. And there's no reason why we shouldn't just be ready to blast off right here. The platform is there. We've just got to make sure that we continue to hit on all cylinders. Financially is always the critical thing. Advertisers have to see the value of making money. And I think that that's pretty much why they're all jumping in. They think that that's going to happen.
And Kathy, being down here at LSU with Kim Mulkey, I am more than happy to send you her designer.
Oh yeah.
So that and your first matches, and you can create the same buzz. And I think you can pull off all of those outfits. And I can't tell everything. You look at what she did down here, but every single step that she made from the moment in the press conference she accepted the job and pointed to the banners and said national championship is missing from those banners up there was scripted. She had a plan, and every step from who comes on the court with her to what time she walks out to what she's wearing to what makeup she has, what shoes, what everything is scripted. So you are capable of doing that in your league.
Gotcha,
And I
Franny.
cannot wait to watch
Love
it.
it. Woohoo.
I'm telling you, Southside Chicago sequence.
Yes, there you go. You are right. So we all have to tune into the first match.
There you go.
I'm
Well, let's talk a little bit about, next week's show and what we have coming up. I think what we're looking at right now is two other coaches, that have played against Athletes Unlimited to try to hear what they had to say about their match and maybe a little bit about the experience, playing against, the pro athletes, get a little bit more insight into the league and what those coaches are doing with their programs. And then probably the plan right now would be to delve into a little bit of the men's volleyball and where they're at, and maybe get a couple of the top coaches on the men's side to come in and speak to us the week after that.
Sounds like a plan there.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in again this week, and look forward to having you back next week, same time, same station.